decoder from the Luntha TV offices in Area 2, Lilongwe, and from all the St. Manford bookshops across the country in Kasungu, Lilongwe, Salima, Dedza, Balaka, Zomba, Mulanje, Blantyre, Chikwawa, Mwanza, and Mangochi. For more information, contact 0883 815 055 or 0996 892 965. Get a Zuku decoder today and not miss daily mass, worship and prayers, news bulletins, and so much more on Luntha TV, bringing wisdom into your home.
You are watching Luntha television and it's time for news. My name is Hilbert Katanda. Now let's have a look at our top stories. Pope Francis greets Italian police who provide security around Vatican. Schools in Luntha and Lilongwe to reopen on Tuesday next week. Cabinet Committee announces an 8-day plan to deliver 60 metric tons of urea and NPK to villagers. And in international news, 14 Malian soldiers killed in 2 armed group attacks. We have these and more other stories to stay tuned in. Pope Francis took the opportunity of traditional audience with members of the Vatican Inspectorate of Public Safety to appreciate the service they provide with self-denial and a spirit of sacrifice. Created as part of the implementation of the Lateran Accords between Italy and the Holy See, the Inspectorate is an Italian police force charged with maintaining public order in St. Peter's Square and the areas adjacent to the Vatican. The Pope recognized their work in providing security during gatherings of the faithful and pilgrims at the Vatican, as well as their assistance during the papal visits to the city of Rome and on pastoral visits to Italy. We have the details.
The Holy Father encouraged members of the Inspectorate to persevere in the ideals and intentions that inspire their life and said he hoped their work, with all its difficulties, would always be animated by the desire to help their neighbors and their community. At the same time, he invited them to be inspired by the gospel in order to courageously bear witness to God's love everywhere, including in the workplace. The Pope told the police officers that their service can be a sign of God's closeness to the brothers and sisters whom they meet every day and who await a gesture of kindness and welcome from them. The service is a concrete way to be artisans of peace in a world that desperately needs people to build peace with deeds, not words. Pope Francis concluded his remarks by ensuring those present of prayers and by entrusting them to the protection of the Blessed Virgin Mary of St. Michael, the patron of police officers.
Malawi government, through the Presidential Task Force on COVID-19 and Cholera, says primary and secondary schools in Luntha and Lilongwe will reopen on Tuesday, the 17th of January 2023. Last week, the task force delayed the reopening of second term of the two districts due to cholera outbreak. Speaking today, Minister of Health Kumbidze Kandodo Chiponda, who is also co-chairperson of the Presidential Task Force on COVID-19 and Cholera, said her ministry is working jointly with city councils and water boards, the Ministry of Water and Sanitation, to provide safe water in schools, including reconnecting piped water supply to schools that had their water supply disconnected. Priska Mashushu reports.
The minister elaborated that ways have been put in place in order to help students who were back home for the past 2 weeks to catch up with other students in all schools in the country. Meanwhile, some experts commented that responsible people in the education sector should make sure that schools are provided with necessary operation standards as education is continuing in the country. Education expert Lexton Dalama said that people in the country should join hands in order to deal with cholera and ensure to enforce regulations in order to keep children safe in schools. He further added that if schools will follow all the instructions given, the chance to spread the disease will be low.
Responsible people in education, stakeholders, to work hard to ensure that schools are made hygienic and schools are able to implement cholera prevention operational standards which have been distributed by the government to ensure that we should not go to the extent of COVID-19 universal closure of schools, which have been distributed by the government to ensure that we should not go to the extent of COVID-19 universal closure of schools.
Who is the executive director of Malawi Health Equity Network, also added that safety begins at home by making sure that food is well cooked, clean water is available, and a hygienic toilet is available in order to avoid spreading cholera from homes to schools by children. He added that students should also be the carriers of cholera messages to their homes from school on how to prevent it.
Within the period of delayed opening of schools in the cities of Luntha and Lilongwe, they will ensure water is available and the other arrangements are done. So what we need now is not to focus on closing schools. Our focus is to ensure hygiene and sanitation are being observed, and that must be in place. Previously we have said where children are going to school, we need to also take advantage of the same children to take messages to their parents on cholera and preventive measures of cholera.
Schools in Lilongwe and Blantyre were asked to be closed 2 weeks ago due to cholera outbreak that started last year. For Luntha TV, this is Priska Mashushu.
The Public Procurement and Disposal of Assets Authority has hinted on the need to involve quality personnel in procurement activities to improve compliance. PPDA Director General Eddington Chilapondwa says the move can help the country in securing its resources in times of improper procurements perpetrated by unqualified individuals. He made the remarks today in Lilongwe during the first ever public procurement masterclass for members of media to equip them on the knowledge on procurement processes. Chilapondo has since urged the citizens to be vigilant in guarding their resources by doing thorough follow-ups. Our reporter Brad Mwanza caught up with Chilapondo.
There are many people out there that can do procurement qualified. The Polytechnic University of Malawi, they have got a bachelor's in public procurement. So we need those people to be accommodated in the system to improve the level of compliance. In as much as training is improving, but we want individuals to be qualified. Very soon we will be having a masterclass of public procurement for all controlling officers in the government. We should also thank the Office of the President and Cabinet that had put the controlling officers together at MIM, and they gave public procurement, PPDA and the ACB to tell them how public procurement ought to be done. It is a positive step. We do believe that if controlling officers are doing their job according to the law in managing and overseeing their entities, compliance levels will go high.
In the next 8 days, Cabinet Committee on AIP says it will move over 60,000 metric tons of urea and NPK fertilizer to beneficiaries in all extension planning areas across the country. The committee's chairperson, Richard Shimwendabanda, has said transport hitches that were encountered have been resolved, saying trucks are already on the roads to deliver the commodity in the targeted areas. Banda, who admitted having faced numerous challenges, said the commodity is available in abundance and the loading continues onto trucks destined to selling points. This is part of what he said.
Because of the rainy season, most of the trucks were not preferring going to remote areas, but we have worked out on that one. We have vehicles that are actually shunting from district offices, warehouses to the rural areas. But you might have seen that now a lot of trucks have come to pick fertilizer going across all the country, and we are very happy and very, very thankful to the Transporters Association of Malawi, TAM, and other transporters who have been doing it. But at least the coming in of TAM has really helped us. We're able to lift more than 2,000 tons of fertilizer a day within Lilongwe, and then another 1,000 within Liwonde, and some in Chirimba. We are very hopeful that the next 8 days we should be able to make fertilizer available to all our farmers across. We know that maize has gone up and this fertilizer is needed now. You have also seen that we have the fertilizer, because some people are trying to say we don't have the fertilizer. The good thing you have seen yourself, we have enough urea, we have enough NPK, we are good to go. And our farmers should, let's be assured. I know there's panic buying because of the transportation problem. People are able to get a few trucks in remote areas. That caused a lot of panic. But right now we are easing up and we are trying to load more fertilizers.
You're still watching news on Luntha television and on our various social media platforms, Facebook and YouTube respectively. Now let's have a look at our headlines once more before we proceed. Pope Francis greets Italian police who provide security around Vatican. Schools in Luntha and Lilongwe to reopen on Tuesday next week. Cabinet Committee announces an 8-day plan to deliver 60 metric tons of urea and NPK to villagers. And in international news, 14 Malian soldiers killed in 2 armed group attacks. Moving on, the Water and Environmental Sanitation Network, a national umbrella network of organizations and individuals working to deliver water, sanitation and hygiene services in Malawi, has urged governments to prioritize water supply and accessibility as a central strategy in the national response to the cholera public health emergency, for the citizenry to practice proper and thorough hand washing to curb the spread of the disease. WestNet says there is inadequacy of hygienic practices, in particular widespread hand washing practice without proper consideration of access to water, hygiene supplies, and soap for the general population. WestNet has, among other things, recommended that the wash sector be prioritized through adequate funding as a move to prevent future occurrences of pandemics that are associated with inadequacy of wash service coverage. Tandu Mzumara reports.
According to the Water and Environmental Sanitation Network, WestNet, the negligence that the wash sector has been facing for decades is the reason why the country has low achievements in sanitation and hygiene, and why it is facing the current challenges in fighting infectious diseases such as cholera and COVID-19. noting that the Ministry of Water and Sanitation says only 89% of the Malawian population have access to clean water, and there are geographical variations in access to safe water amongst urban, peri-urban and rural dwellers. WestNet Executive Director Willis Mwandira has, among other things, recommended that government should provide more resources to the Ministry of Water and Sanitation so that it ably recruits more staff, more so at district levels, so that there is continuous monitoring of water points, rehabilitation and maintenance of non-functional boreholes or water sources, so that communities are able to access safe and clean water at all times. Mwandira went further to recommend that support be rendered to district levels of water, sanitation and hygiene plans on cholera preparedness and response through disbursement of funds to districts to enable intensification of preventive activities such as massive awareness campaigns on prevention of cholera, water quality monitoring and testing, and chlorination.
Government perspective, if it can be able to allocate adequate resources. When I'm talking about adequate resources for water supply and sanitation, putting it at the level of safely managed service coverage, where services are close to the people, and we're talking of the services that are resilient to issues of climate change and other shocks. And at that level, as a country, we need about 226 billion Malawi kwacha per year.
Mwandira went further to appeal to President Chakwera that during the pending cabinet reshuffle, the new Ministry of Water and Sanitation should be maintained as it is key in fighting against the disease, and that the ministry will be key in prevention of similar diseases in the future. The cholera outbreak was declared a public health emergency on the 5th of December 2022. As of the 11th of January 2023, the country had registered over 21,000 cumulative cases and over 700 deaths in all 29 districts. For Luntha News in Lilongwe, this is Tandiwe Mzumara.
The Aerial Development Committee for Senior Chief Chantonya in Balaka District has described the 2022 indoor residual spraying program as the best phase of all seasons since its commencement in the district. This was said on Wednesday during a feedback session on the intervention which World Vision International is conducting in the district following the end of Phase 3. The organization is working on reducing malaria prevalence through killing of mosquitoes. From Balaka, Rashida Matandika reports.
The Senior Chief Chantunya Area Development Committee members, led by the Inkosi Chantunya, have all agreed that the 2022 phase for IRS, popularly known as Mpopela, was a success, as the chemicals did not only kill mosquitoes but also other insects that were making lives in the village difficult, such as bedbugs and cockroaches. Inkosi Chantunya said the program has helped families in the area save a lot, as they are no longer going in and out of hospitals due to illnesses.
Malaria is dangerous, and that is why we all took part in the activity to help in reducing the cause. It is a good thing that government decided to support us this way, and as a community we have saved money that could be used in going to hospitals to seek help and treatment, and that is why we are encouraging each other to take part in spraying their homes.
On the other hand, the ADC chairperson Mavuto Bwenzi commended the way World Vision handled this season's recruitment issues, as most of the youth have benefited from the activity, meaning they understood their previous grievances when the organization recruited people from other areas, depriving their people of employment.
It helps a lot when our youth are taking part in such activities, as firstly it reduces the rate of unemployment, and secondly it reduces crime rate because people have something to do, and so when such opportunities come, our youth benefit a lot.
From the Office of Malaria Prevention, the coordinator Moses Ntakaira said malaria cases have decreased drastically thanks to IRS.
The IRS helped a lot in Balaka district. Before IRS in 2018, instant rate was 486 per 1,000. After introducing IRS in 2020 up to 2022, by this time instant rate from 486 by this time is 108 per 1,000.
The area of Senior Chief Chantunya was declared to be on position 1 in Balaka district as they achieved a 99% coverage in spraying households with a few refusals, which the ADC is optimistic in defeating in the next season. They have also asked World Vision to maintain the use of acrylic 300 CS as the best chemical for the activity. World Vision International has been conducting IRS project in response to high malaria rate in Balaka, Mangochi and Nkatabe districts since 2020 with support from Global Fund. For Luntha TV in Balaka, this is Rashida Matantika reporting.
And in arts and culture, Minister of Tourism, Culture and Wildlife, Michael Usi, says the Digital Archive project, which Copyright Society of Malawi launched on Wednesday, will increase efficiency and protect creative works from being lost. Usi told journalists that this is a modern way of storing members' works, as previously they were stored in absolute formats, and the digital way will help address storage challenges. He then added that the government is open to creative minds on whether it's going to shape the creative industry in the country. Bridget Monoka reports.
The minister started by ensuring the creative sector that government still has interest towards the promotion of the sector, as it will continue putting in place systems and initiatives which will help the arts and creative industries in Malawi. He then acknowledged that the country has over 20,000 active artists, artisans, and practitioners who make a significant contribution towards job creation, tourism, and upholding of virtues of national cultural identity. Thereby, the launch of Digital Archive project will enhance preservation.
It is very, very important that we should digitize our artistic work. You know, it is a product that has been brought and it must be preserved. What has been happening is that the proposal and government has been preserving the artistry work physically, and some of it has been lost. But now, becoming this digital preservation, we are going to make sure that we preserve these artwork for a long time. And from that, it's easy to sell those products on online platforms.
In his remarks, Kosoma Vice Board Chairperson Ezeas Mkandawire said they are expected to digitize about 193,000 works as they are mandated to promote creativity.
We were merely responding to the global trends of technology. So the technology has advanced and people are streaming more, people are sharing files of mobile phones, computers, etc., etc. So that is the trend that we're trying to respond to. So Kosoma, put together a proposal to actually document in digital formats all the copyright works that are domiciled at Copyright Society of Malawi.
Representing the owners of the copyrights, hip-hop artist Nono Chukuleka, commonly known as Physics, said there have been gaps in storage and managing the works, and the coming in of this project will help solve some of the challenges.
An exciting project. We're very happy. I'm representing the owners of the copyrights, who are musicians and people in film, in photography and literature. So basically there's a lot of gaps in terms of storing the records of the copyright works as well as managing the works. So the coming of this project, it's going to make sure that the projects are protected, despite whatever misfortunes might happen, they'll still be protected. And also there's a gateway for accelerating e-commerce, whereby we're pushing the sales of these Malawian works to the rest of the world. So
the initiative has been made possible with 100 million kwacha financial support from the Sound Connects Fund under the Malawi Digital Archive project. Bridget Manoka, Luntha News in Lilongwe.
In sports, a list of candidates said to be vying for various social positions at Super League of Malawi elections next month is making the rounds on social media platforms. Nyasabe Bullets Football Club Vice President Fritwood Haya is one of the new faces on the list, alleged to be vying for the presidency. Others are Blue Eagles Vice General Secretary Solomon Gomeziani Mchawi, who is said to be interested in position of legal advisor, whereas analyst Higang Kandawire is said to be eyeing the position of Vice General Secretary. In news from elsewhere, 14 Malian soldiers were killed and 11 wounded in two separate attacks in central Mali after their vehicles struck explosive devices, the army has said. The incidents took place on Tuesday in central regions where attackers with ties to Al-Qaeda and EOC regularly attack civilians, Malian soldiers, United Nations peacekeepers, and other international forces. The reinforcements in response to the latest attacks led to killing of 31 rebels, the army said in a statement on Wednesday. Reuters news agency could not independently confirm the reports, and no group has yet claimed responsibility for the attacks. That's the news for now, but before we go, a reminder of our top stories. Pope Francis greets Italian police who provide security around Vatican. Schools in Luntha and Lilongwe to reopen on Tuesday next week. Cabinet Committee announces an 8-day plan to deliver 60 metric tons of urea and NPK to villagers. And in international news, 14 Malian soldiers killed in two armed group attacks. My name is Hilbert Skadanda. Stay safe and continue watching Luntha television. Goodbye for now.